In this video, I review the Anvil bucket fermenter cooling system, and that's coming up next. How's it going? My name's Brian. I'd like to welcome you to another video. On this channel, we do brew videos, DIY how-to videos, as well as product reviews just like this one. So if any of those interest you, consider subscribing. And if you do, don't forget to hit the bell so you won't miss a video when it comes out. In my Anvil Brewing Fermenter review video, which I'll put a card to up here, I alluded to the fact that they were going to be coming out with a cooling system for the Anvil bucket fermenters. And they indeed have, and I got my hands on one. Full disclosure on that, they did send it to me for testing and review. What comes in the box is a nice neoprene jacket to go over the fermenter. Then it comes with 10 feet of rubber hose, or PVC, I think it's PVC hose. And that is actually divided for you into 5-foot sections. The cooling coil itself, and it comes with a 4-hole stopper to go into the top of the fermenter, and more on that here in just a minute. It comes with a thermal well, and that is I think it's about a 12 or 13 inch thermal well, obviously big enough to fit pretty much any size probe you want. A submersible pump, and that is a Anvil branded device. Then it also has a AC adapter. I believe there's 6 feet of cord on the pump and 6 feet of cord on the AC adapter. So we got that. And then for the control of the temperature, they actually include a Inkbird 308S, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken. And comes with a sensor for it. It is a heating and cooling module. And then last but not least comes with a assembly and user manual. Hey, I wanted to jump in real quick and let you guys know that the folks at Anvil did give me a coupon code. If you use the coupon code SPARK at checkout over on their website, and I'll leave a link down below, you can get 10% off of any of the cooling systems. There's one for Carboy, one for the 4-gallon, and one for the 7.5-gallon fermenter. So I just wanted to throw that out there before we got too far in the video and let you know that they're hooking you up. Use the promo code SPARK for 10% off at checkout. Back to the video. Not included, an ice chest. A small ice chest is what I'm going to use because I want to see just how efficient the system is and how well it works. The other option you have is either a glycol chiller, or you could use, I think I might try this as well, is a small fridge, a small like dormitory fridge turned all the way down. Try to get it as cold as possible. Have a liquid reservoir in there, whether it's glycol or water. So there's that. Now, as far as assembly of this goes, let's take a look at putting on the sleeve or the insulation jacket. You do need to take off the spigot, and it goes on Anvil Anvil emblem up. One thing that I will tell you did kind of surprise me with this, and I don't know, hopefully it's not ever an issue, but one of the things that did kind of surprise me is that it does have a zipper on the back, like a nylon zipper. I might have, personally myself, I might have opted for Velcro just because I think it might last longer. We've all had those coats where your zipper breaks, so you can see it's pretty tight. I mean, you gotta pull, you gotta pull, get it started, and then it does zip up, but there's just quite a bit of tension on it, so I don't know if it'll ever be a problem. Hopefully it's not, but just something to be aware of if you take it on and off a bunch of times. So then we've got the stopper, and for the stopper, I would suggest probably, maybe you've already sanitized it or whatever, so it might be a little easier, but dip it in some water, kind of get it a little slick, because these cooling coil has a little bit of a curve to it, so it makes it just a little tough to get through there if you don't have some kind of liquid on there, so just a tip. All right, so this is upside down in your orientation. Make sure that the biggest hole is on the top so that when you put your airlock in there, it's at the rear and doesn't interfere with the curve on the chilling coil. Now hold your ears for this because this is kind of slide the thermal well in there in the front where it's nice and tight and sealed, and you can slide that all the way down. Push that in there, and then you've got it installed. What that looks like inside is this here. So the only other thing that kind of gave me a little bit of pause is that the thermal well is right exactly in the same space or area as the chilling coil. So I don't know if there's going to be just kind of, there might wind up being a little bit of a column here where it's chilled in that one area. Hopefully that's not the case, but that was the only other thing that I saw that kind of gave me a little bit of pause on the design. But then you're just going to put on your hoses. So it doesn't matter which way you've got the coils hooked up. One in, one out. It doesn't matter which one is which because it's going to travel through the coil either way. So one side of this is going to go on your pump on here. And that'll fit on there okay. This goes down in your reservoir. Both tubes actually go down in there. This goes in there. You fill up your bucket or your igloo or your cooler or whatever with ice and a little bit of water. Obviously, less water is more with this. You want enough to submerge the pump, but it'll melt as it goes. So that's basically what you're looking at there. And then drop down in there. Anyways, hook it up to your controller. And then the other end of the attachment cord for the power supply, that'll plug into the cooling side of the Inkbird controller. For my initial test, what I want to do is I'm going to test bringing wort down that is above pitching temperature down to pitching temperature, see how long that takes. I do have, what I've got is I've got a 7-pound bag of ice. I want to do something that's kind of readily available to anyone. A half a gallon of water. I've got my pump in here. I've got my probe in. I don't have my pump hooked up yet because of the fact that I don't really want to run it dry. I've got the pump plug or the power supply plugged into the Inkbird controller. I want to go over real quickly with you how to set up the Inkbird because when it comes, it is in Celsius, so we need to switch it over to Fahrenheit, and then I'll also show you how to set the temperature on it. So let's do that now. All right, so the Inkbird, when you get it, it comes in Celsius. I'm going to hit the set button until I get the menu. And then this is the area where you'll set the temperature set, but we're going to run through the menu. We're actually going to run through the menu with the set button first. And then we're going to come to a point where it says CF, and it's either Celsius or Fahrenheit. Hit the up arrow for Fahrenheit. So then once you get it set to Fahrenheit, just press and hold the set button until it goes back to the main screen. And my water's a little bit warmer than what I wanted it to be, but that'll be fine for this simulation. So I'm going to go in there and set the set point on it. So hold the button down until I get back into the menu. That's going to be the first setting, is going to be the temperature set. So I'm going to set it down to 68 degrees. Again, hold the set button until it goes back to the main. That'll show you 91.7 is the current temperature, 68 is my set point. And the cooling light is showing to be on. So I'm going to go ahead and put the ice into the ice chest and get the pump started. And I will put a time-lapse timer on a phone or something like that and show you how long it takes to get down from 91.8 degrees to 68 degrees. So let's get that started now. World example, you know, the 7-pound bag of ice is probably the cheapest option that you have at the grocery store. So we'll go ahead and plug in our pump. And I'll get a timer started. All right, there we go. So we've got liquid flowing through. I imagine you can probably hear the pump running. So we'll see what we get, and I'll go ahead and start a time lapse here so we can see how quickly it falls down to the 68 degree set point. All right, so the results from the test of the dropping it from like 91 degrees down to pitching temperature was about 2.5 hours to do that. I wanted to try that because there are a lot of the people in our audience that live in warmer climates, and they talk about having issues with getting stuff chilled down all the time. So I think I'd probably rather put my wort in the fermenter warm and then let it chill down by using the ice. That way it's already in the fermenter. I can clean everything else that I've got and not have to worry about, taking forever to chill. Let's take a look at the rest of it. So one of the things I was curious about was how it would circulate or relate to the rest of the fermenter. And once it got down to that past 68 degrees, I pulled the jacket off here, and of course these are not ever 100% accurate, but I'm showing 62 to 64 degrees on the outer here. So I mean, I would say that it has chilled down the entire batch just to the touch. The fermenter is very cool. Something else I wanted to point out too, at the 78 degree mark, I did throw in an extra bag of ice because the ice had pretty much melted at that point. But from 78 down to the temperature that it's at currently, we are looking at a lot of ice left in there. I mean, there's quite a bit of ice still floating in there. So I'm gonna let it run for the remainder of the day today, possibly overnight, and see how much ice we have left. Now the results with the small ice chest, that was pretty telling because of the fact that it's not real efficient. And as I said, you know, it's only going to be as efficient as whatever you're using. I did leave it run for a full day. And then when I got home later that night, it was still holding at like 65 degrees. There was still some ice in the cooler. So to me, it was doing its job pretty well. You know, there again, it's only going to be as good as whatever your reservoir temperature can maintain. So the next thing that I wanted to do, I had a mini fridge, and I'll show you. That's actually behind me here. There's a mini fridge with a reservoir inside and a controller for it. Let's take a look at that and I'll show you what I've got going on there, and we'll discuss that real quick. All right, so I'm going to show you what I did here. I've got a Inkbird controller that is controlling the mini fridge, and the pump and everything is inside. I'll open the door in just a second, but got it set to 32 degrees on here. The coldest that the mini fridge would get the glycol inside is 58 degrees. So you can see the cooling system is holding it at 60.6, which is a couple degrees warmer, which is to be expected. There's a little bit of loss in some of the lines and whatnot, but I'm pretty impressed with what it's doing out of just a little dormitory fridge. And I'll open it up real quick. Let me kill the pump so I can show you. So what we've got in here is let me flip on the light here. So what we've got is I've got a reservoir in there, and as you can see, that's really frosty back there in the back. So I think possibly if I can get that down inside of the reservoir, because actually that was a freezer that was up in here, and I flipped it down, and I've actually lagered in this thing before with small kegs, so I know it'll get cold enough. I just need to get that into the liquid. So, and then I had to make a little bit of a modification up here by cutting the seal and cutting the inside piece, but definitely got some high hopes. I'm going to do some more testing on this and see what I can come up with, but I think it's definitely going to make a good glycol system. Overall, I was a little bit disappointed with the results from the glycol reservoir, but not because of the cooling system, but just because the mini fridge wouldn't get it down as chilled as I thought it would. I'm going to do some more testing with that and mess around a little bit, and I'll update you guys further along down. I wanted to get this out to you so you could see what the performance of it was and what my thoughts were on it. If you have a freezer that you can get the glycol down farther, you're definitely going to have better performance. You might even be able to lager with it. I don't know for sure, but you know, it remains to be seen, and I will definitely report back to you on that. So here's my final thoughts on the Anvil chilling system. I think it's going to be kind of a game changer for me because I was thinking about getting some fermentation fridges and doing a bunch of other things. I do have a 7 cubic foot freezer that I can build a better glycol chiller if the small dormitory fridge system doesn't work out. But I think to be able to have the fermenters just sitting on a shelf with the cooling system with the glycol running through them and not having to take up a bunch of space is going to be really key for me. I didn't really see anything other than a couple things that I mentioned in the beginning, which I really don't think are issues at all. Again, the system is only going to be as efficient as the reservoir that you have the cooling liquid in. So, you know, no fault to the system at all. It didn't get down as cool as I had hoped, but that was because my reservoir didn't get as cool as I wanted it to. So I definitely think that, you know, for the price, it's certainly worth it. You know, I highly recommend it, and I think that it's a good product, quite frankly. I will be doing some more brewing. That's one thing I wanted to also say is that, you know, preface this with, I did all these tests with water. If you have yeast in a beer that's fermenting, then it's certainly going to generate some heat, so it will affect it slightly. But I don't see an issue with it keeping your beer cool while it's fermenting and keeping it at a consistent temperature. It certainly did that in my case here with the water. I don't think it'll be any different with the beer. So get over there, use the promo code. I'll link down below. This has been Brian with Short Circuited Brewers. We'll see you on the next video.